This is a lava lizard. There are lots of them on the rocks around here. And in the breeding season, which is now, the males are competing with one another, both for territory and for females. And the way they do so is with press-ups. Watch. Actually, this is a model that is used by scientists to investigate the way in which these lizards communicate with one another. Let's see how he gets on. And there's a response. These press-ups vary, both in the number and the intensity, the speed at which they do it, and how high they bob their heads. The interesting thing is that the responses vary from species to species. In other words, each species has its own language of gestures. He's about 80 years old, and he's getting a bit creaky in his joints, as indeed am I. He is arguably the rarest animal in the world. Certainly there can be none rarer, for he is the last of his kind. His female died a long, long time ago. When he dies, the Pinta species of Galapagos tortoise will be extinct. But he's a very important animal. Probably more than any other single creature, he's focused the attention of the world on the fragility of our environment. And he's stimulated science to look into whole new areas of research here in the Galapagos. Some pitchers aren't content with just insects. This one eats mice. The mice come along, perhaps attracted by the sweet nectar on the lip. They fall in, they can't get a purchase to get out, they drown, and eventually the enzymes in the pitcher's fluid dissolves the body so that eventually there's nothing left but a bit of fur and bones. It may look like a tree, but in reality, this is just a single giant leaf. It's called the Titan arum, and it's a record breaker. But not because of what you see now. In a week or so, that green stem and the leaflets that grow on top will die and rot and disappear. But beneath the surface of the soil, there is a gigantic tuber, and it's from that that the record breaker will emerge. Leaves are very thin and have a large surface area, so they lose a lot of moisture in heat, and many desert plants have done without them altogether. Instead, the valuable green pigment develops in the stems, and desert stems are often very thick and swollen, and that enables a plant to store water in them. Not only that, but some desert plants have pleats in these stems, so that when there is a sudden rainstorm, those ridges can suck up all the moisture while it's there and expand in order to hold it. The heart of the seed bank project is this gigantic freezer full of seeds in sealed jars. The conditions inside are perfect for long-term storage. But the job is aided by the very nature of seeds. The seed is the stage in which a plant can remain dormant, waiting until conditions for germination are right. Inside each seed, there's a store of food. Outside, there's a tough protective shell to guard against predation or damage. In fact, a seed is a kind of time capsule that can live for sometimes a decade, sometimes even centuries. The aim of the seed bank is to prolong that period as long as possible. To do that, they clean the seeds, dry them, put them in jars like this, and then keep them here at minus 20 degrees centigrade. How long they will survive under these conditions, nobody knows, but it's certainly going to be for a very long time. The function of the flower, like all flowers, is to attract a pollinator. And this plant gives off the smell of rotting flesh. But it does something else, something you can see with a heat-sensitive camera. This remarkable device reveals something astonishing. The white areas at the base of the spar are significantly hotter than the surrounding plant. It's heating up. At its hottest, the spar can reach 37 degrees centigrade, the same temperature as the body of a mammal. These are the fruiting bodies of a fungus. Their function is to produce dust-like spores, which are then blown away through the woodland to grow elsewhere. But these are only a tiny part of the fungus. Most of the body of the fungus is beneath the ground, a tangle of tiny threads which extend for hundreds of yards through the forest. And we're now beginning to realize that those threads are essential for the growth and health of many of the woodland plants. This is the Luckham oak. It germinated from an acorn in the year 1762, and it's one of the oldest plants in Kew. Its roots are covered with a fungus, but that's not an affliction. That's the reason why this tree was able to live for so long. Because the fungus can do something that the oak tree can't. It can extract nitrogen directly from the soil, and then the oak tree collects it from the fungus. And in return, the fungus takes sugars from the sap in the roots of the oak tree. So it's a mutually convenient arrangement, a symbiotic relationship. In fact, we now know that around 90% of the species of plants on the earth depend upon fungi one way or another.